Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Namaprabha Nirvikram Gurumedevo Sharvakayeshu Sharvadha Saraswati Namastu Varade
Marutini
Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Nishada Suklam Baradaram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chaturvudam Prasanna Varanam Dhyaye Sarva Vigno Pashantaye. Let us salute Lord Hanuman. You have to remember, wherever you read Ramayana, his invisible presence will be felt. Yatra yatra raghunama kirtanam tatra tatra krishnamasta kanchalim bashpavari paripurna lochanam marutihim namatta raksha shantakam. Pujantam Ramarameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Arhuya Kavita Shakam Vande Valmiki Kokilam. So before we look at session 8, let's look at the review of what we have covered in session 7. Before session 8, we look at session 7. Session 7, the chapters that we have covered from 21 to chapter 40. And what did we cover in what we call session 7? So if you are able to see the areas that we have covered, we started with chapter 21 to chapter 23, Rama's discussion with Lakshmana. Lakshmana was very, very angry when he heard that Rama is going to be banished to the forest. So Lakshmana was very angry. Rama said, anger is the enemy. Rama pacified Lakshmana. And Lakshmana was still angry. And after that, Rama went to obtain permission of Kausalya. Kausalya at first said, you cannot go. You have to follow your mother. Just like what the Upanishad says. Taittiriya Upanishad, Shikshavali, Matro Devo Bhavo. You have to follow your words of your mother. But later Rama, with his argument, managed to obtain permission from Kausalya. And of course, Kausalya will bid farewell to Rama, but again, Rama will communicate again with Kausalya at the later stages before he leaves to what he called to the forest. And then if you look at the last session, chapter 26 up to chapter 30 was Rama's discussion with Sita. Okay, in the beginning, Rama just wanted to let Sita know that he will be going to the forest as per the boon given by the king to Kaikeyi. Sita insisted that she also wants to follow Rama. And Rama dissuaded Sita. Rama was giving Sita all the what they call problems that they might encounter in the forest, difficulty of forest life, especially in chapter 28. But even after Rama dissuaded Sita, Sita was insistent. She still wanted to go. Sita was adamant. She wanted to go to the forest. And finally, Rama agreed to take Sita to the forest. And after that, Lakshmana too requested that he wants to follow Rama to the forest. And Rama also agreed. And then after that, what happened? He distributed his wealth to all the rishis. Remember, there was one Brahmana who came called Trijata. Okay. And then Rama faced respect to his father at his departure. Dasaratha was lost consciousness at that particular period of time. And Rama consoles Dasaratha. Dasaratha had no words to say. He was in grief. He was in the state of what we call depressed state at that period of time. And Sumantara at that time railed at Kaikeyi, and then Siddhartha, who's prime minister, one of the ministers is called prime minister, tried to persuade Kaikeyi, okay, not to send Rama to the forest. And Kaikeyi was adamant. And remember, Kaikeyi was just playing on the script given by Mantara to her. And Kaikeyi offers 3 bucks to Sita to her, and Dasaratha was enraged when he saw that. And then finally, Rama seeks the blessings of his mother. And then here, if you find in chapters, this part where Rama will be talking to his mother, Kausalya, about Sri Dharma. And then Rama will start to depart from Ayodhya. This is where we stopped, chapter 40. Okay. In our session, for this session, we are going to look at what they call chapters from 41 to 60. Okay, again, 20 chapters to be covered for today's session. Again, 41, again, the grief continues. So we know about how Dasaratha, the feeling of Dasaratha, the emotion displayed by Dasaratha. Not only Dasaratha, we will also see the emotions from Kausalya as well. Dasaratha will feel dejected. Kausalya will lament further. All the frustrations she will vent out. And then a very important chapter here is that the chapter, what we call 44, chapter 44 about Sumitra. In this chapter, we are going to learn about, it's not something like, we learn many types of Gita. You even have Rama Gita in Adhyatma Ramayana. Rama will also give sermons to Lakshmana, and there will be a sermon by Rama himself in Adhyatma Ramayana. Of course, you have the Bhagavad Gita. You have Gitas like Akshitavakra Gita. You have many types of Gita. Some of readers of Ramayana can say this chapter 44 is about Sumitra's Gita. Sumitra's Gita, Sumitra's argument, Sumitra's sermon to Kausalya, to console Kausalya. This part we're going to look into later in chapter 44, the step by step that will be given by Sumitra to pacify Kausalya. Kausalya was in a state of depression, but Sumitra, by her words, the way she communicates, okay, she was able to pacify or console, okay, Kausalya, to reduce her grief, okay. And then, you know, when Rama left Ayodhya, citizens also followed him to the Ayodhya. So Rama will request the citizens to return to Ayodhya. And then he will pass the night at the banks of Tamasa. Okay, and then he will leave immediately, early in the morning, when the residents were all asleep. So the residents of Ayodhya, the people of Ayodhya will begin to rebuke themselves. And then Rama will move further into the forest. He will cross the rivers. Okay, Rama will bid farewell to his birthplace. Okay, he will actually go outside the boundary of Ayodhya. He will meet his friend Guha. Guha Perumal, or in Tamil they call Guha Perumal. Guha. Okay, and then Guha will offer food, will offer hospitality to Rama. Rama will refuse because he cannot enter into any part, any city, any towns or anywhere, any kingdom. So Guha will, and then at night, Guha will request Lakshmana to take a rest. Lakshmana will refuse because he will be taking care of, he will be watching what we call Rama and Sita. And the next chapter, Guha will get boat ready to cross Ganga. And Rama will try to send Lakshmana back to Ayodhya. But Lakshmana again refused. And this is the second time actually Rama tried to dissuade Lakshmana to go back to Ayodhya. And then later they will go to the hermitage of sage Bharadwaja. Bharadwaja will inform him to go to Chitrakuta. Okay, Rama do not want to stay closer there. He wants to go a bit further. So Bharadwaja will inform Rama to stay in Chitrakuta mountain. Okay, and then when at that time, Rama will request Sumantra to go back to Ayodhya. Sumantra wanted to follow Rama, but Rama will give all the arguments why Sumantra should go back to Ayodhya. And once Sumantra goes back to Ayodhya, he will deliver the message given by Rama to Dasaratha and also Kausalya. In fact, he gave a message to Dasaratha, Kausalya, and also to Bharata. Okay, and when Dasaratha heard the message, he again fall unconscious. Kausalya again laments, and then Sumantra tried to console Kausalya again. All right, so these are the areas or the chapters that we are going to cover in this session, in our session for session 8. So session 8 starting with chapter 41. Chapter 41 consists of 21 slokas. This sarga consists of 21 slokas. It's all about the lamentation, all about the frustration, depression, frustration vented out by the king's wife, question about where Rama is going. In fact, when the not only Dasaratha, not only Kausalya, but the entire citizens of Ayodhya was in a state of depression, in a state of frustration, in a state of lamentation. So people who had a last glimpse of Rama cried out in anguish. They said, Rama, who treated us with love, devotion, reverence, with which he treated with his own mother. He treated everybody like his own mother, father. Where is he going? So they started to condemn the king. They say, the king has surely lost all sense to have banished Rama. So when Dasaratha heard this, what happened? He began to be, more and more depressed, and it made him even more sad because of negative information, negative news that comes to his ears, that he hears. Okay, stricken with grief, people were in no mood to perform their daily tasks, mundane or religious activities. Even animals were reluctant to graze or even eat. Okay, people are all in a state of sorrow. Okay, this scenario in a Kamba Ramayana, Ramayanam by Kambar, in classic Tamil, he also described the scenario beautifully. The scenario has been described about all the even animals, even people, how they were reluctant, they were in a state of depression, they were crying when Rama left Ayodhya. Okay, and even it says that in Valmiki Ramayana, even clouds, dust, there were even earths were also trembling. Even sun also set earlier. It was said, if you look into this particular chapter 41 of Valmiki Ramayana, and people seem to have lost all interest in life, one in another. And their mind, it was said here, in their mind and their hearts, mentally and emotionally, they were observed in one thought of Rama. This is very, very important. These are how fortunate people, commentators used to write. This scenario, if you are looking from a devotional perspective, commentators say that it's a very, very important state of mind. Even though when you are state in a depression, state of distress, your mind thinks of Rama or Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, if you are able to recall, in chapter 6, Lord Krishna says, after describing Ashtanga Yoga, he will say that of all the yogis, one whose mind dwells in me always is the greatest. So he says the essence of Bhakti Yoga is to think of the Lord. Like in this case, they are thinking about Rama. So remember that sloka. Anyone who wants to check is chapter 6, verse 47. Yoginam api sharvesham madhathenantarahatmanaha sradavan bhajate yomam chamiyukha tamomataha. Okay, chapter 6, verse 47, which is actually a conclusion of Ashtanga Yoga given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And then you will also find in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9 and also chapter 18, it is stated that Manmana bhava mad bhakto mad yajimam namashkuro. It says that you must always think of me, thinking about Krishna, remembrance about Rama, Krishna. In this case, Rama, they are actually moving towards liberation. Okay, that is why if you look into Uttarakhanda, Uttarakhanda at the end, Rama entered into river Sarayu and then he took all the people of Ayodhya together with him. Okay, so remembrance of the Lord. See, the minds and hearts of the people were completely observed in one thought, the thought of Rama. Okay, then when you move on to Sarga 42, here, right, we have 35 verses in this Sarga about Dasarada. Dasarada keep on lamenting about what we call Rama. And then here Dasarada stood on the road watching the chariot disappear. And when he could see no more, he fainted because of his strong attachment. Attachment, this is very important, something that we can learn. Attachment, too much attachment, too much attachment to something or someone, sometimes Sastra said is not good. Okay, too much hatred or even attachment to people also not good. There is also one sloka that I recall in Kishkinda Kanda, where Wali will tell to Angada at the time when Wali was about to quit his body. Oh Angada, do not be too attached or do not have too much liking to someone or hate towards someone. Always be in a middle path. So too much attachment of Dasarada to Rama, he couldn't bear the separation of Rama. So at that time when Dasarada fainted, that time when he was about to fall, Kausalya and Kaikeyi, okay, wanted to lift him up. But King want Kaikeyi, said to Kaikeyi, oh Kaikeyi, don't touch my body, oh sinful woman. I don't regard you as my wife anymore. I cannot even bear to look at you. And walking with the help of Kausalya, okay, the king's thoughts were with Rama. King was thinking about Rama. Turning to Kaikeyi, he said, I'm unable to live without Rama, O Kaikeyi. I might pass away soon, and you will rule as a widow. And getting more restless, the king commanded his attendant, I don't find peace here in his palace. Take me to the palace of Kausalya. And then they took him to the palace of Kausalya, lying on the couch there. He turned to Kausalya and said, oh Kausalya, please touch me with your hand. I do not see you. The very important word here I highlighted here. Dasarada said, my sight which followed Rama has not returned to me. So he said his sight his vision has followed Rama. And that vision has not returned to him. He's unable to see. This was a condition of description of what they call Dasarada to Kausalya. And Kausalya also in a state of depression, frustration and depression said to the king, she said, oh king, I would have preferred Rama to be in Ayodhya even as a servant of Kaikeyi if she had wished for that. But now Rama has gone out of sight of all of us. I do not even know what is happening to him. What she will do to him further. She has a fear that Kaikeyi will do further harm to Rama. She said here, Kaikeyi's light is in ascendant. She is riding the waves. I wonder what she will do next. Sometimes people's luck, based on the destiny, based on the karma, it will ascend, it will descend. You have to remember that life is a roller coaster. Like a roller coaster, it will be up, it will be down. But you must always maintain equanimity. You remember here in Ramayana, not only Ramayana, the Mahabharata, especially if you take Bhagavad Gita, a lot of sloka that talks about equanimity. Always be in equanimity, whether high or low. Okay? Right. So, here, I wonder what she will do next. She is actually lamenting what Kaikeyi is likely to do to Rama. Will the time come when Rama and Lakshmana return to Ayodhya? Does bring joy to people of Ayodhya. How long to behold the faces of three children, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana? Surely here, Kausalya is trying to find some reason. Maybe sometimes people always try to blame themselves. I might have done something in my past life. So here, even Rama also later on will say the same thing. Of course, to some extent, yes, true. Some of the happenings that we experience today is to some extent based on our past action, because the Shastra says that Every one of us are architect of our own destiny. Where we want to go will be determined by what we are going to do today. Where we are now is based on what we have done in the past. Even I have quoted this from the saying of Buddha. Where we are now is based on what or where we have been in the past. Where we are going to be tomorrow is going to be based on what we are going to do today. So here she is actually trying to recall if any in the past birth she has separated the cow from the cows. And she even says, even as a lion overpowers a calf, thus this deprives the cow of its calf, Kaikeyi has deprived me of my child. And this chapter, if you look into 44, it's a very important chapter, 31 verses, and this particular chapter is can be attributed to Sumitra. We learn about Sumitra in Ramayana earlier part. Okay, in Balakanda we learn she waited for Kausalya and Kaikeyi to consume their portion of the payasa, then she consumed hers. Although first king gave to Kausalya, and then the king gave to the king gave to Sumitra, and then to remaining part she gave to Kaikeyi, and then remaining part he gave again to Sumitra. This is as per Valmiki Ramayana. Of course, other versions of Valmiki Ramayana might say that king gave to Kausalya and one part, and another part gave to Kaikeyi, and both of them partially part of what they have, they gave it to what they call Sumitra. That is also a version you have. But Valmiki Ramayana states 50% given to Kausalya, remaining 50% what remains given to what they call Sumitra, and then remaining half of what remains given to Kaikeyi, and then remaining the last portion was given back to Sumitra. Okay, now let's look into the Sumitra. Before we go into the Sumitra's how she what they call console Kausalya, if you look into the note part, okay, if you look into this note, you have to remember that when adversity takes us down, we forget the bigger picture. Okay, this is as per the commentary by Krishna Sharma, okay, in readramayana.org. Here, in this context, Kausalya is just like everyone's life, many times. From situation to situation, people grieve like Kausalya or console like Sumitra. So, how Sumitra console Kausalya step by step? If you want to read, you read this chapter from Krishna Sharma. Sloka 2 to 4, she reminded that everything that matters still in intact. What she will be communicating later, I will go through with you again. Sloka 5 to 7, remind that all support structure was still there. She will remind Rama have gained many astras from Vishwamitra. Okay, she has a blessing from all the sages. He's well protected. She will be giving all that to console Kausalya. Remind that the world will still be kind and considerate. Remind that the innate qualities are still intact. Speak positive of things that will be restored in short time as well as a long period of time. Reassure that nothing is impossible. Still, all is in support. All the support is in place. And you have to paint a vivid and a general pictures of positive turns of event. How Rama will be victorious and he'll be coming back to the Ayodhya after 14 years. Why do you worry, oh Kausalya? So if you go back, if I go back to chapter this chapter, if you look into this chapter 44, the wise Sumitra. Valmiki say wise Sumitra means Sumitra is somebody with a sattva guna, sattvic nature, sattva guna. Okay, Sumitra said to Kausalya, what she said, your son, your son is noble and strong, and you need not grieve over him. Grieving, unnecessary grief, it will rob our strength. That is, not only our physical strength will be lost, Our mental and emotional strength also will be affected when we grieve too much. Grieving. Of course, people will be depressed, disappointed for some time. But when we keep grieving, keep thinking, that's why we need people like Sumitra or someone who can speak to you in a positive word to remove your grief, to not only to console, to remove your grief. Grief is a negative thought that comes into our mind. In fact, Arjuna also was grieving in the beginning in the Bhagavad Gita that he will be fighting against Bhishma and Drona. He said, Katam Bhishma Maham Samke Dronam Cha Madhusudanaha Itsube Pratiyoshyami Puja Havarishudana. How am I going to kill Bhishma and Drona? He was in a negative. His thought was negative. He was grieving. And if you remember, Krishna started his teaching. Chapter 2, verse 11, he started with Asoshan Anasoshyastvam Pratyavadam Bhashase Gatasu Nagatasuscha Nanu Sushanti Pandita. He said, while speaking like a great Pandita, great person, learned person, you are grieving for what that is not supposed to be grieved. For not something that you are not supposed to grieve, you are grieving. Why are you grieving? He said, a Pandita, a learned person, will not grieve for one who has gone or who has yet to go. Gatasun, one who have gone, Agatasun, one who have yet to go. Nanu Soshanti Pandita. So, Sumitra is like a Pandita. She is telling Kausalya, your son is noble and strong. You should not grieve over him. By his supreme renunciation of kingdom, he has earned great merit. Lakshmana too has earned great merit, same with Sita, who bravely discarded the pleasures of the palace and chosen to be with her husband. Strongly she says to Kausalya, I am certain, O Kausalya, the entire nature will be favorable to Rama. The missiles and weapons which Vishwamitra bestowed upon Rama will surely provide him with ample security. Rama's devotion to Dharma, he will return soon after completing the term. Devoted to Dharma as he is the light in the sun, the prosperity of wealth, and is a very essence of glory and patience. I consider him the foremost of being. Even her own mother, Kausalya, not able to understand Rama. See, Sumitra is consoling Kausalya. Okay? Whatever he lives, whether he lives in a forest or in a city, no harm can befall him. Grieve not, O Sumitra, or grieve not, O Kausalya. Soon he will return to Ayodhya. Soon your eyes will behold him as you welcome him back to Ayodhya. Wipe your tears born of grief. Tears come because we grieve too much. O Queen Kausalya, very soon when Rama returns and bows down to you, it will time for you to shed tears, tears of love. These wise words of Sumitra, mother of Lakshmana, brought great comfort to Queen Kausalya. So what Sumitra actually did, it's something like, if you are familiar with this term called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming Techniques, you might want to do a search, okay? Neuro-linguistic, you need to speak positive words. You need to move away from negative self-talk. Sometimes people get into depression state, both mentally and emotionally, like Kausalya, when they keep thinking negativity, when they have a negative self-talk, thinking about all the negative things that might happen, that might fall on them, might fall on the people around them. So one have to stop this thinking. We need people like Kausalya more. If you know somebody like Kausalya who are close to you, speak to this type of people. When you have people who you communicate with, who always talk negativity, too much negativity, try to reduce the interaction with them. Because more and more you communicate with people who always be talking negative information to you, negative news, you will be drowned in negativity. So your association is very important. Association of people who surround you is very important. Okay. find among your friends, okay, who will be like Sumitra, or whether male or female, whether man or woman, somebody who is very philosophical, not only philosophical, but who are able to, what they call, help you overcome stress or overcome grief or depression. Then you will see change that might take place from within you. Okay, so this is an episode. Those who are interested, you can read that particular chapter, chapter 44 of Ayutthaya Kanda, which you can say something like Sumitra Gita. Although we don't find anywhere called Sumitra Gita, but it is something like Sumitra Gita where Sumitra consoles Kausalya. Very, very, very detailed information. You can look into it, just like I have mentioned to you earlier, the step-by-step process that she used to console what they call Kausalya. And then as you move to the next chapter, we now back to where Rama was, Rama's chariot. Earlier, after Rama's chariot has left, what happened to Dasaratha, Kausalya, and people in Ayutthaya? Now, there are some people of Ayutthaya who followed Rama's chariot. They wanted to go where Rama wanted to go. They followed Rama's chariot and would not want to return to the city. They don't want to go back to the city. When he noticed that the sun was about to set at that time, when Rama left, okay, it was said when Rama left, sun set earlier, okay, on that particular day. Even you find Mahabharata also, when Karna was killed, sun also showed disappointment because Karna was the Amsha of Surya. Rama also comes from the Surya Vamsa. Okay, Rama lovingly spoke to the people. Oh, blessed citizens of Ayutthaya, the love and adoration that you cherish for me, may the same love and devotion to be shown to Bharata for my sake, O people of Ayutthaya. Bharata is of noble character and noble deeds, and he will do all that is calculated to be pleasing and beneficial to you. Okay? Please behave in such a way not to cause distress to the heart of the king, my father, my father, for my sake. So actually, Rama tried to dissuade them to go back to the city, to go back to Ayutthaya. Whatever he did to dissuade them seems to persuade them that he alone fit to rule them. This is what we call in the leadership charisma. Okay, referent power of the leader. In a book on leadership by what they call Bess and Emilio. And then before that, there is a concept of transformational leadership by James McGregor. Okay, James McGregor Burns came up with a concept of transformational leadership, which was expanded by Bess and Emilio. They said that leaders, these are the type of leaders that organization needs, transformational leaders, leaders who can transform. Leaders who rely on their referent power, not much on their position power, reward power, or cohesive power. Position power is a power based on their title. Reward power is based on the ability to give reward to people. And then cohesive power is a power to punish. These are not the type of power transformational leadership leaders need. Transformational leader, somebody who has this referent power and charismatic power. Referent power means based on his personality, based on his charisma. This is what people in Ayutthaya looked at Rama. Okay, even though Rama dissuaded them and to follow and persuaded them to go back to Ayutthaya, the people felt he alone fit to rule them, nobody else. Okay, even at that time, Brahmanas, seeing Rama proceeding towards forest, prayed to him, Rama, our minds are devoted, far devoted to Vedas. Now you are following, we are following you to the forest. Okay, once our heart entered into your being, there is no going back. If you don't return to Ayutthaya, how will there be Dharma? Compassionate you are, have mercy on all these created beings and return. While they were saying so, they came to the bank of Tamasha river. Even the river seems to say return. Ramnagi says the river also is saying like return, for it obstructed and lay across Rama's path. So here you have to see, if you are looking into note, I've taken from Krishna Sharma. If you are looking into this note, sometimes what we like and what is good for us may not always be the same. People who are familiar with Katha Upanishad, you might also find something that is similar, that is called Katha Upanishad is a dialogue between Nachiketa, a boy called Nachiketa with Yamaraja, king of death. Nachiketa will be cursed by his father to meet death. There are beautiful Upanishad with a lot of instruction. Okay, the instruction on that says the body is like a chariot, the mind is the rein that controls the chariot, the driver is an intelligence. So many instructions that we learn from Katha Upanishad. One of the things mentioned in the Katha Upanishad is a thing called Shriya versus Priya. Priya means what is pleasant to us. Shriya means what is good to us in a long term. For example, overeating you find pleasant. If you eat a lot of food, sometimes some people keep eating and eating. It is pleasant for them, but it is not good for them. Long term, they might having any disease due to overeating. So you have to consider what is pleasant, what is good. Katha Upanishad says you have to look at what is good rather than what is pleasant. Okay, what is pleasant might not be good in a long term. So we have to always, when we make a decision, we have to look into the decisions from Priya versus Shriya. Okay, some of you wants to know more, you can do some search about what is Priya and Shriya from Katha Upanishad. There is an Upanishad that is called Katha Upanishad. So always consider what is good in a long term, long run, rather than what is pleasant at this particular moment. Okay. As we move forward, if you look into in chapter 46, so in this chapter, Rama leaves the citizens behind and he proceeded to the forest. So here we find that in this particular chapter, Rama puts the thought of Ayodhya behind, consoles himself that his father, mother would be all right under the care of Bharata. Sometimes we have to have positive self-talk within us. They are all will be fine. This is a positive self-talk. Earlier, Kausalya was doing negative self-talk. Not only positive self-talk to us, to ourselves, okay, but he was also giving positive affirmation, positive what they call communication to even Lakshmana. So if you remember earlier, for Kausalya, she was having negative self-talk. Because of the negative self-talk, what is self-talk? Self-talk means a talk that we have that dwells in our own mind. Talk about our own self, about what is going to happen to us, what I'm going to do. These are what we call self-talk. And a self-talk can be positive and can be negative. So in a Kausalya case, she was having a negative self-talk. But here Rama, when he puts the thought of Ayodhya behind, he consoles himself that his father and mother will be all right under the care of Bharata. He tells Lakshmana not to worry about going into exile and assured him everything will be all right ahead of them. Lakshmana stays awake all night, thinking about virtues of Rama, talking about virtues of Rama with Sumantra. And Rama will get up early in the morning and he feels sad about the citizens who are sleeping under the trees, leaving their home behind in order to follow him. And in order not to cause further inconvenience to them, Rama suggests they should leave the forest before the citizens get up. Before the citizens wakes up, Rama made a decision to go to the forest. And Lakshmana agrees, and then Sumantra makes a chariot ready, and then they drive off, leaving the people. People at that time were also asleep. Now, why Rama had to make this decision? If you analyze leadership, if you analyze the role of the king, okay, the king's role, the king should, very importantly, you have to note that consider the welfare of the people. So Rama here looks at the people, they are sleeping under the tree, they are leaving their home behind, they are not following their duties at home, they have forgotten everything. They just simply wanted to follow Rama. They are going through a lot of inconveniences. Although at that particular period of time, it might not be a pleasant decision, but it is a good decision in a long run. So what Rama did, he wanted to leave them behind. Before they get up, before they wake up, Rama told Lakshmana and Sumantara, also Sita, to get ready, and then they drove off, crossing river Tamasha. And then he told Sumantara to make sure that people will not be able to know the paths where they are going. So Sumantara did that very well. So what happened? Rama left the people, so that the reason Rama left the people was that he wants the people to go back to Ayodhya and lead their normal life in Ayodhya. So what happened here? Rama puts the thought behind, consoles himself. Okay, this is the same, sorry. Okay, he drove off to what he call to the forest. So remember this part, Rama gets up early in the morning, he feels sad that the citizens were sleeping under the tree, leaving their home in order to follow him. In order not to cause further inconveniences, he left them. Okay, as what we learn here is that the people should be not feel any form of inconvenience following Rama. So welfare of the people need to be taken into consideration, and that was the reason why, although at that time it was not a pleasant decision, but it was a good decision in a long term. So Rama left to the forest, leaving the people behind. And the next sarga, if you look into in 48, when people of Ayodhya who followed Rama, when they woke up and they could not find Rama's, Lakshmana, Sita, even Sumantara there, they were disappointed. They also became very disappointed. And when they were disappointed, you know what they did? They were cursing sleep. They were cursing sleep. Why do we have to sleep? Because of the sleep, we were deprived of our awareness. Because of our sleep, we sleep too much, we could not see Rama now. This particular sloka is actually, they will be cursing sleep. Why do we have to sleep? Because they have fallen asleep. The citizens of Ayodhya who accompanied Rama fallen asleep at the bank of river Tamasha. And Rama at that time, when they were sleeping, very early in the morning, made the decision to leave them, so that not to further distress them. So when they woke up in the morning, they found Rama had gone away. And because of that stress they felt, disappointment that they felt, they started to curse sleep. This particular sloka, if you want to read, you will find this in the chapter 47, verse 4 of Ayodhya Kanda. Okay, they say, shame on us. Due to sleep, we were deprived of our awareness, and because of that, we lost Rama. We are unable to see Rama. Okay, and then now Valmiki takes the scenario back to Ayodhya. Okay, from at certain chapters, Valmiki here narrating Rama's direction to the forest. And then after some time, he's now shifting. In this chapter, he's shifting back to Ayodhya, where the people of Ayodhya again keep lamenting on Rama. Rama have left to the forest. The ladies in the Ayodhya were sad. They were not interested in their daily duties. Forests and places where Rama go, they say, we're fortunate to have them. Citizens want to go there only. See, you have to remember that Bharata is also can be a good leader. He was a great personality. But it's not people hate Bharata because they love Rama more. That was the reason why people want Rama. Why they love Rama more? Because of his personality, because of his charisma, because of his leadership quality. Remember, the transformational leader leads mainly based on his referent power. and his charismatic power. Okay, so this description of Ayodhya by Valmiki, 37 slokas in this sarga, 48, chapter 48, if you look into. So if you look into this, sentiment were expressed through voices of women of Ayodhya who share with their husband. They even say, we shall never be subject to Kaikeyi's rule. They were condemning Kaikeyi. They were even condemning Kaikeyi, condemning Dasaratha. Even if you look at the earlier sargas, they were condemning Dasaratha because due to Dasaratha's word, and due to Dasaratha's attachment to Kaikeyi, he gave the word to Kaikeyi. And that was the reason why Rama had to leave. Rama had to be banished. And unable to bear the separation, they were even thinking, unable to bear the separation from Rama, king might perhaps die soon. Then perhaps Kaikeyi will rule the kingdom. What will happen to us when Kaikeyi started to rule the kingdom? People lamented and they went to their grave. Ayodhya looked like a dead city when Rama left. When Rama, Sita, Lakshmana left with Sumantra. Ayodhya looked like a dead city with all the public activity ceased, market closed. Something like what is happening now in some country due to the lockdown, due to coronavirus. That city in some area, everything closed, shops shut down. There was no normal rituals. So this was the scenario of Ayodhya, lamentation of people. As what I have said in Kamba Ramayana, he said even animals. Valmiki also mentions in the previous sarga, if you look into, okay, sarga 42 of the Ayodhya Kanda, even animals, even plants, they were also in a state of what you call frustration because Rama left them. So now Valmiki takes back to the forest, the traveling of Rama in sarga 47, 18, very short sarga here, 18 verses in this sarga, 18 slokas. It's mostly the conversation of our villagers as Rama crossed further to the kingdom. Rama crosses a few rivers and then he was heading southwards. So here if you look into, he was heading southwards. So am I missed out? Yes, okay, correct. Okay, he was moving southwards. Yes, okay. Then in chapter 50, Sarga 50, he will be moving towards a place that is called Sringiberapura. This is where Rama will be meeting Guha Pirman. Guha. Kamba Ramayana they use Guha. Guha is a friend of Rama, and Rama will tell. He will consider Guha as his brother. In Kamba Ramayana, Rama will take Guha as a brother. He will say, with Guha, we are 5. We used to be 4. With you, O Guha, we are 5. And then later, with Sugriva, Rama will say, with Guha, we became 5. With you, O Sugriva, we became 6. And later on, when Vibhishana Saranagati came, Kamba Ramayana, the poet Kamba said that with Guha we became 5, with Sugriva we became 6, with you, O Vibhishana, we became 7 brothers. So he says in Tamil, Anbulla Guhanodu Ivaranu. Then later Sugriva 6, and then what do you call this Vibhishana will be number 7. Rama regards Guha as his own brother. Guha was his friend, good friend of Rama. So here the meeting between Rama and Guha. 51 slokas in this chapter, chapter 51. He reached Sringiberapura, as it is stated, which is on the bank of Ganga. The chief of Sringiberapura was Guha, was a friend of Rama. And when he heard Rama arrived there, he rushed forward to greet Rama. A very emotional meeting between Rama and Guha. On the meeting, the two friends warmly embrace each other. Guha mystifies to see Rama clad in a astic garb. What happened to you, O Rama? Guha asked. Rama, come, I had food and other delicacies. Immediately he brought the food to Rama. Welcome, O mighty one. The type of food that was brought by Rama was given detailed description here by Valmiki. Different types of food that can, whatever type of food that can be eaten, that can be sold, all the types of food description is given here by Valmiki in in this particular chapter. So this is a hospitality offered by Guha to Rama. Guha said to Rama, the whole earth is yours, O Rama. You are our Lord. We are our humble servant. Rama embraced Guha and again said, O Guha, I am delighted to see you, O Guha. I to see you that you are well. Thank you for your hospitality, O my friend. But I do not need it now. I am under a wall to lead an ascetic life. So Rama only took water from river Ganga. Rama and Sita slept under the tree while Lakshmana and Guha kept away under another tree. So this was a scenario. Rama did not take the food offered by Guha because Rama cannot go into any what we call kingdom because of the war that he has taken. So here, when we look into the conversation between Rama and what we call Guha, there will be a conversation between Lakshmana and Guha when Rama and Sita was sleeping. So here we find that Guha will tell Lakshmana. Actually, Guha will tell Lakshmana to sleep. But Lakshmana will say that I cannot sleep. How can I sleep when Rama and Sita is sleeping? I need to guard them. And then what happened? Guha will be guarding Lakshmana. And then guarding Guha, the whole people of his clan, Nishada clan, in Sringiverapura will be guarding Guha. So Ramayana commentators say this is how the devotees, one is serving the big master, to serve him will be another master, and serve them will be another servant. To serve them, they have their own people will be serving. So you find that the people of Sringiverapura guarded Guha because Guha is their master. Guha was guarding Lakshmana, whom Guha thinks is his master, and Lakshmana is guarding Rama and Sita. So this is where, if you really look into the uniqueness of, sometimes you do not serve the Bhagavan directly, you serve through his servants. This is what commentator used to say. Like here, Lakshmana serves Rama. Lakshmana is being served by Guha, who was protecting Guha, and Guha was protected by his citizens who didn't sleep at all. The entire Sringiverapura didn't sleep because they were all protecting Guha, Guha protecting Lakshmana, and Lakshmana protecting Rama and Sita. Guha said to Lakshmana, we used to live in the forest. Oh brother, you are not. Here is a bed for you. Lie down and sleep. I shall keep awake and guard all of you. But Lakshmana declined. He said, I shall not lie down in presence of my brother. As they both sat there vigilantly guarding Rama and Sita, Lakshmana expressed his anguish to Guha. The night is perhaps doomed, Ayodhya. He is actually here. Lakshmana is having a bit of negative self-talk. He was looking into all the negative things that might happen in Ayodhya. If you go through this particular chapter, chapter 51 in detail, you will know all the type of negative thoughts that came to the mind of Lakshmana. And all the negative thought, he was thinking possibility king might not be able to bear the separation from Rama. The king might even pass away. Okay, he might even say the mothers might even pass away due to the separation from Rama. Okay, he even said that the people in Ayodhya might be sunk in grief. Our only prayer is that 14 years might pass soon. Rama may return to Ayodhya. So you will find some areas Lakshmana will be going through a negative, not only self-talk, but the communication that Lakshmana had towards Guha, which was a bit on the negative side, is due to his own negative self-talk. So we find here Rama. So he will say Rama will return to Ayodhya. He gives us something positive thing. So as we move on, okay, Sarga 52, which is a bit longer Sarga, because there will be communication with Guha. Guha will make arrangement for arrangement of the boat to cross Ganga, and then Rama will be communicating with Sumantra. Sumantra also now wants to follow Rama. Sumantra was telling Rama that he did not want to go to Ayodhya. He said he doesn't want to go to Ayodhya. He wants to follow Rama. Then Rama will give all the reason why Sumantra have to go back. And then finally Sumantra will go. Rama will take leave of Guha and he will cross the river. Sita will offer prayer to Ganga. This time Sita will offer prayer to Ganga. And then they will cross again another river. Later on you will see they will cross again. This one they are crossing Ganga. Later they will be crossing Yamuna. Yamuna is also known as Kalindi. Yamuna. And again Sita will offer prayer to Yamuna. So here, let's look into this particular, what we call Sarga. At dawn, Rama woke up and he offered prayers. To Guha, he said, please arrange to ferry us across Ganga. And when the boat was ready, he said to Sumantra, he told Sumantra, oh Sumantra, I think you have come far enough. I think now you should return with the chariot to Ayodhya. He mentioned here chariot. Only when Sumantra returns to the chariot of the Ayodhya, the chariot, then Kaikeyi will know that Rama has been left in the forest. Sumantra could not even endure the thought for a moment, the thought of being separated from Rama. He cried, highly emotional. Sumantra also at that time, he became very emotional. Oh Rama, I cannot go back without you. Please permit me to be with you, O Rama. And Rama gently spoke to grieving Sumantra. He was under a stage of frustration to a depression. Sumantra, you are the only true well-wisher of the family. Sumantra is a very good minister of Dasaratha. Also a charioteer of Dasaratha. You are our wise counselor. Hence, you should return to Ayodhya and console the king. Only when Mother Kaikeyi sees you that you have returned to the city without me, she will be convinced that I have gone to the forest. For my sake, O Sumantra, please, please return to Ayodhya. And to Guha, Rama said, under the wall of being an ascetic, I shall not stay in inhabited forests. You see, earlier Guha even offered Rama, stay here until the 14 years is over. We will be our king. We will be able to serve you. But Rama refused. I shall not stay in inhabited forests. He cannot stay in any kingdom. Even later on in Kishkinda, after Vali was killed, Sugriva should be the next king. For a coronation of King Sugriva, Rama did not enter Kishkinda. He requested Lakshmana to go to Kishkinda to coronate Sugriva as a king. Rama did not enter Kishkinda. So he was at the mountains requesting Lakshmana to go. Okay. So taking leave of Guha, Rama asked Lakshmana to go into the boat first and then he helped Sita to enter. At last he himself entered the boat. From then onwards, the journey of Rama will be described. They will be marching on. And then while they are going through the boat towards Ganga, Sita will offer prayer to Mother Ganga for their safe return from their forest, from safe, what they call, life in the forest and return back to Ayodhya. So that actually concludes the chapter 52 of Ayodhya Kandam, Sarga 52. So here, if you look into commentary made by Krishna Sarma, which I am producing here, Rama will tell Sumantra. You see, Sumantra was arguing reason why he should be following Rama, and Rama will dissuade Sumantra. In order to dissuade people, you have to tell them that things will be all right. Okay, you remember the counseling, the way that Sumitra consoled Kausalya in chapter 44 of Ayodhya Kanda. What are the steps? And here Rama will be giving some form of a consolations to Sumantara. Okay, please tell the great king to send for Bharata immediately and install him in a position. The king would like, as soon as Bharata arrives, king would like, okay, as Bharata being installed as a prince, crown prince, is taken into embrace, the grief on my account will subsidize automatically, king said. This is actually, if you understand human psychology, as the commentator Krishna Sharma says, when you take away a toy from a child, the child will be disappointed, he will be in grief. But when you give another toy to the child in place of that earlier toy, even though it may not be the exact toy, the child will feel pacified and will get used to it, forgetting the grief of not having the original toy. So the argument that the Rama is presenting to Sumantra here is that when Bharata comes, when he has been installed in a position, very soon the king will get used to the change. Remember, whenever we go through a change in our life, first stage, we get shocked due to the change. And then we deny there is a change. We go through a frustration stage, we go through a depression stage, and then we slowly get adapted to the change. It's a curve will be like a V curve like this. First, we get frustrated, not frustrated, sorry, we get shocked due to the change, we deny there is a change, and then slowly we go into a stage that is called frustration, depression, and automatically we get back to normal. So here, this is what Rama is trying to argue to Sumantra. Slowly the king will get able to get to the normal. He will be able to, when Bharata becomes king, Bharata takes care of the king very well. Grief of my account, the grief that the king felt of not having me will subsidize automatically. So this is something like what sometimes politicians and managers do to exploit people. They take away something and give something else to suit the mood of the people. Though for devious reason, it can be done. This is what Rama is trying to tell Sumantra in this context. So Rama, okay, we find that Rama, Lakshmana traveled. There is one incident you will find. Okay, the one character that is called Kevat in Ramcharitmanas you have. It is not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. You will find it, Kevat, the dialogue between Rama and Kevat. Kevat will wash Rama's feet before Rama gets into the boat. The boatman Kevat. That particular scene or the incident, it is not found in Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana, you will not find Kevat, but you find in Tulsi Ramayana, and of course you have some other versions of Ramayana. Okay, but just for your notes, for your notes, just for me. But there's a beautiful incident, beautiful scenario, a beautiful dialogue. In fact, if you look into one of the series of Ramayana, a beautiful song, and that series, Ramayana series, has been translated into many regional languages of India. And you find a beautiful scenario, very emotional and beautiful scenario where Kevat will be washing the feet of Rama to make sure that the boat will not, he is relying on the boat for his livelihood. He heard that due to Rama's feet, a stone, not a stone, a dust turned into a woman. So he doesn't want his boat to become that. So he will wash the feet of Rama before allowing Rama to enter. That will be but that particular episode is not narrated, not mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana. But it's a beautiful episode. If you really look at that particular episode in Ramcharitmanas. Okay, now you find that Rama continues to pour his emotion. Sometimes even Rama here, we find, he will have positive self-talk, he will also have negative self-talk. Although Rama is someone who is emotionally intelligent. Okay, so here he tried to reflect. He posed his emotion to Lakshmana. Okay, also to Sita. So here, that night was spent without mantra. Rama was thinking about Ayodhya. Thoughts of Ayodhya entered Rama's mind. He said to Lakshmana, "This is the first night without mantra. I wonder what is happening in Ayodhya. Surely our father might be distressed, tormented by grief." Here he says, perhaps Kaikeyi happily asleep. If Bharata has returned to Ayodhya, maybe he might take the king's. Maybe she might even take the king's life due to Kaikeyi. Thought I'm thinking of the fate of my mothers, our mothers. Surely they are hardest hit by turn of the events, and their grief is the worst. Okay, you see here, earlier, if you look into the sloka, not sloka, chapter 43 of Ayodhya Kanda, you find that Kausalya will be thinking that in her previous birth, she might have deprived the calf of their mothers, of their cows. She might have done some bad past karma of her have resulted her facing the what she is experiencing now. Here Rama also thinking maybe the mother in her past birth might have deprived mothers of their children. That is why she has to undergo the suffering now. So here, if we are looking into, Rama is also thinking of previous karmas. I have mentioned to you about karma also previous session. Later on in session 9, I'm going to elaborate more on the law of karma. When Dasaratha will be grieving, when he was thinking of his past action before he died. He will be thinking about the time when he was young. Okay, he killed Sravana Kumar, and the parents, the father of Sravana Kumar will curse Dasaratha. He will also die, like what the due to the death of the child, just like how they are dying. So he will be thinking about that karma. Concept of karma again will be elaborated in Valmiki Ramayana. So Rama is thinking, Kausalya's suffering is intolerable and great. I'm really concerned on her behalf. Please, now here, Rama again trying to persuade Lakshmana to return to Ayodhya. Many times, Rama, before they go further into forest, I think after this he will not persuade anymore. Okay? Rama will persuade Lakshmana, please return to Ayodhya to look after our mothers. I shall surely be able to take care of Sita. Lakshmana's reply was emphatic and final. Ayodhya has surely been deprived of its life in that you come away. There is no worrying over that, Rama. But I will on no account leave you and return to Ayodhya. Okay, of course, he will be giving a lot of arguments presented by Lakshmana. Rama again accepted, and from these moments, they were three. They move onwards. They were moving towards the forest. And then in this chapter, if you look into chapter 54, Rama will arrive at Bharadwaja's ashram of Bharadwaja. You remember Bharadwaja is one of the disciples of Valmiki. In fact, later, after visiting Bharadwaja's ashram, later on you will find in Ayodhya Kanda also, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita will also visit the ashram of Valmiki. Valmiki's ashram was also there, not far from Bharadwaja's ashram. Bharadwaja is one of the disciples of Valmiki. Okay, after meeting Bharadwaja will suggest to Rama and Lakshmana to go and stay at the Chitrakuta. Okay, after spending the night under the tree, on bed of grass prepared by Lakshmana, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana moved on to the forest. Soon they came to the confluence of river Ganga and Yamuna. This is a place where currently Allahabad or Prayaga. Those days it is called Prayaga. Currently, I think it is in India, it is Allahabad, where the Ganga, Yamuna, the confluence of river is there. Rama noticed smoke rising at a distance and announced to Lakshmana, Lakshmana, see, there is a clear indication that Sage Bharadwaja is in his hermitage, tending sacred fire. And when they reached the hermitage of Sage Bharadwaja, Bharadwaja welcomed them. I have been expecting you to come, O Rama. I have heard of all the happenings in Ayodhya. Come, Rama. This is a lovely place. You can spend your entire period of exile here. Bharadwaja told Rama. But Rama replied, O sage Bharadwaja, certainly this place is beautiful and holy. But it is too close to the big cities and to the people of Ayodhya. Kosala and other territories might come here to see me or Sita. That will also disturb the peacefulness of this place. Hence, O sage, I feel we should not settle down here. Please kindly suggest some other place for us to go. And Bharadwaja said, O Rama, at some distance from here, there is a sacred place called Chitrakuta Hill. It might be a mountain or hill, Chitrakuta Hill. One who looks at the summit of that hill enjoys prosperity and never falls into error. It is the abode of many sages. Please take your abode there. And Rama agreed to the proposal made by Sage Bharadwaja. And of course, in next chapter, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana, the trio crosses Yamuna and proceed to Chitrakuta. There are 34 slokas in this sarga. And of course, in the beginning you find Bharadwaja will give instruction how to reach to Chitrakuta. Something like the GPS, direction where Rama should go to Chitrakuta. And Rama and Lakshmana will make a raft to cross Yamuna. And they will reach to the other side of Yamuna and they will go to the forest. So when Sage Bharadwaja instructed Rama how to reach to Chitrakuta. He also offered special prayers for the safety of the three, for their success in their mission. And Rama bowed to the sage and said, I shall follow your direction. He turned to Lakshmana and said, surely we have earned a lot of merit in the past to deserve such affection from the sage. Later on, you will see in Ayodhya Kanda, Rama will be meeting many other sages. She will be meeting Sage Sutikshna, Sharabanga, Agastya, many sages. She will be meeting. Forest life, meeting of many sages, association of sages is very, very good to learn about our own self, because many of us, we do not know our own self. We always think we are the body. We have always think that our name, we are from here, this is our position, but lot of things about ourselves we have to explore within ourselves. We do not know about ourselves. Okay, so you have to, that's another part, okay, which you find in the Upanishads and many other scriptures. So Rama will turn to Lakshmana. He said, we have earned a lot of merit in the past to deserve affection from the sage. They set about to cross river Yamuna. They prepare raft and help Sita to get in on the raft. Sita will offer prayer to Yamuna. Earlier she offered prayer to Ganga. Now she will offer prayer to river Yamuna so that they could safely conclude their exile in 14 days and return back to Ayodhya. The same prayer was made to Ganga earlier. On reaching the further bank, they left the raft and then they marched forward. So if you look into the what they call order, Lakshmana here will be leading the way. Sita will follow. Rama, okay, follow Sita. Lakshmana, Sita, and Rama. Rama at the back. And then later on, if you find in Aranyakanda, Rama will be following in front, Sita will be second, and Lakshmana will be behind. Okay, we'll come into that part. Maybe I will also tell you reason from some of the commentators why here Lakshmana is leading, and later in Aranyakanda, Rama will be leading. Later part of Aranyakanda, lot of obstacles will come. So Rama here is giving opportunity to Lakshmana to lead so that he will get the association of the sages first. And then later on, when they are going through hardship, when all the after Surpanaka incident, and then when they are going further into the forest, okay, when they meet the Virada and all that, Rama will be in front. Okay, so here also a description of flora and fauna of the forest when they are going closer to Chitrakuta. Lakshmana here, Valmiki will be giving a lot of information about floras and faunas. Mountains like Gandhamandana, mountains, Karnika, there is flora. These are a lot of description. Even you find in Sundarakanda, and in chapter 15, for example, when Hanuman was in what you call looking for Sita, he will come across Ashokavana. Description of Ashokavana with a lot of floras and faunas are also will be described by Valmiki. If you anybody who are very good, who wants to do research of the geography and research on floras and faunas, the number, the trees, the mountain, the rivers, a lot of information that you can get from the Ramayana itself. I know one particular scholar of Ramayana. She's not from India. She's from the Netherlands, from Tilburg University. She done some research studies about various rivers and mountains from Ramayana. Various rivers and also mountains that has been described by Valmiki in Ramayana. Okay, this requires you to just focus on the description of floras and faunas. You will find this in Balakanda, you will find Ayodhya Kanda, also you will find Aranyakanda, Kishkindakanda, Sundarakanda, not much in Yuddha Kanda, but up to Sundarakanda, you will be able to find a lot of information about floras and faunas, the flowers, the trees, the mountain that has been described by Valmiki in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. Then as they go on to Chitrakuta, here they meet Valmiki. See, remember Valmiki's ashram and Bharadwaja's ashram not very far. Bharadwaja is a disciple of Valmiki. So they will meet Valmiki. Valmiki was present during the happening of Ramayana. That is why we call Idihasas. Just like Vyasa was present during the happening of Mahabharata, and Vyasa was a part of Mahabharata. Okay, remember that through Vyasa, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and also Vidura was born. So he was part of the Mahabharata. Just like that, Valmiki is also part of the Ramayana. He was present during the happening of Ramayana. Okay, and then in Uttarakanda, Sita was with Valmiki in his ashram. I mentioned one commentator said they are like brothers and sisters. The reason was that Valmiki came from Enkil of Enkil. Enkil is considered to be the year of Bhuma Devi. And Sita also came from Bhuma Devi. Sita was a daughter of Bhuma Devi. Okay, and because Valmiki came from the Enkil, which is considered to be the year of Bhuma Devi, he is also considered to be the son of Bhuma Devi. So the commentator says that Valmiki and Sita, they are related just like brothers and sisters. Okay, of course, we don't find any where it is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana and any other regional Ramayana or what you call versions of Ramayana, but this is from a commentary made by a commentator of Ramayana. This is what I presented some time ago, that how they are related to each other. whether they are related to each other. Okay, so after the morning bath, okay, in Yamuna river and prayers, they pray, they walk towards Chitrakuta. And along the way, Rama keep pointing to Sita. Again, description of various flora and fauna in the forest. Long description of flora and fauna in the forest. Okay, anybody who are interested, you can go types of trees, names of the trees, names of the mountain. You remember in Sundarakanda you have trees. Simsupa tree was a tree that Hanuman climbed in order to look for Sita in Ashoka Varna. There are a lot of descriptions there. Okay, people who are interested to study, they can study flora and fauna in the forest. In the during the time of in Valmiki Ramayana, a lot of descriptions are there. When they near Chitrakuta hill, he pointed out to Sita and Lakshmana. He joyful. He was very joyful that they were going to spend their what he called life in the forest. Rama said to Lakshmana, "Look, Lakshmana, it is a delightful hill, Lakshmana, with varieties of trees and creepers, with plenty of fruits and roots. It thrills my soul. Sometimes you go to some environment, it's very nice, beautiful. You also feel comfortable. Okay, sometimes we go to different countries, different places, parts of the world. You see different types of floras and faunas, different mountains, different rivers, different environment. It will always be nice to see it directly. Okay, and Rama also felt the same here. He is telling Lakshmana, and he says, many sages and holy men lives here. I think we should live here. Then they entered the hermitage of sage Valmiki, who welcomed him. At the command of Rama, after meeting Valmiki, at the command of Rama, Lakshmana erected a hut in no time. Immediately after that, they performed ceremony. Okay, it was said he hunted few animals here. It was mentioned. Okay, but I did not put it here. But there was a question earlier about Rama. The question about vegetarianism. The Kshatriyas at that time were allowed to eat meat. But of course, somebody who wants to be a sattvic nature, vegetarian is the best. Sattvic food. One must always eat sattvic food. Okay, but in Ramayana you find that they did hunt animal at that time. Okay, it is actually narrated here. If you go through Valmiki Ramayana chapter 56, this particular slokas where the ceremony, yes, they did hunt few animals, okay, and then they did prayers. Okay, Lakshmana did the hunting for Rama here. Okay, after the prayers, they started to live in Chitrakuta. And now Valmiki, now Rama, Sita, Lakshmana, they are living in Chitrakuta. Now after Sumantra left, Sumantra was requested by Rama to leave, to return to Ayodhya. So after Sumantra left, Sumantra now returns to Ayodhya. He leaves the Guha. He actually, after leaving Rama, he will meet Guha again. He will again communicate with Guha. He will spend a night with Guha. Okay, then he will go back to what he call Ayodhya. He will go through. In fact, if you look into chapter 57, it's all about the journey of Sumantra from the forest, meeting with Guha, and then he will pass through various places, and then people will be querying about Rama. Everybody will be in a depressed mode because Rama have left, and then Sumantra will enter the palace of Dasaratha. And after seeing Sumantra, Dasaratha and Kausalya will also faint. One by one, they will faint. They still have not taken away the grief. The grief actually continues. The grief continues because of too much attachment towards Rama. And the people of Ayodhya also still in a state of grief. Sumantra will convey, chapter 58, Sumantra will convey the message of Rama. There are 37 slokas in this sarga, in this chapter. Dasarada will regain consciousness and will ask about Ramayas, Lakshmana and Sita. Sumantra will convey the message. Sumantra will convey Rama's message to Dasarada. He will also convey what he call message to Kausalya and also to Bharata. And later Dasarada will also ask any message from Lakshmana and also Sita. Sumantra will convey the message given by what he call Lakshmana and also Sita. Sita didn't give much message. She was silent. Only Rama and Lakshmana gave message. Different message given by Rama and Lakshmana here, if you really look at. As Sumantara returned to the city after leaving Guha, the people wailed aloud and again, knowing that Rama is indeed gone. The palace, the consort of the king, expressed their grief again and again. Sumantra conveys Rama's salutation to the king. Dasarada fainted, recovering consciousness. Sumantra conveyed Rama's message. First, Rama said the king's feet should be worshipped. Second, Rama's message to the Kausalya. Rama was saying all the good, a lot of message Rama. But Dasarada was not interested. He was trying to console. Message that was to console Dasarada. Secondly, Rama's message to Kausalya. Be devoted to Dharma. Worship the feet of our Lord, the king, considering him to be the God. Similar to the particular chapter, in a previous session, we learned that Rama gave discourse on Sri Dharma to Kausalya, his mother. He said, in your relation with other mothers, let not pride or false sense of dignity enter. False pride shouldn't enter at all. This is even more in a case of Kaikeyi, to whom the king especially fond of. But of course here, king has renounced Kaikeyi here, but Rama still thinks that king is fond of Kaikeyi. Regard Bharata as king, for though young in age, king should be respected. This is political dharma. Rama is telling Kausalya. Rama is also giving message to Bharata. Please regard Queen Kausalya as your mother, as she is sure to feel my absence greatly. And Sumantra continued, Lakshmana, however, was still angry with you, O King Dasaratha, O King. Lakshmana said, how can this king banish Rama, who is Rama to be considered to be, how can someone who banish Rama to be considered as a father? I don't consider Dasaratha as my father. How can he who exiled Rama against the wishes of the people can be considered as a king? I don't even consider Dasaratha as my king. I consider Rama alone as my father and my king. Just like what Sumitra has, the last word of Sumitra to Lakshmana, consider Rama as your father, Sita as me as your mother, and then as a forest as Ayodhya. So here, this was a note or the message of Lakshmana to Dasaratha. Actually, Dasaratha felt pleased of the message of Lakshmana. He felt blessed that he has a son that is called Lakshmana, has gone to serve Rama. Sita, however, was tongue-tied when Lakshmana spoke to me. Okay, Sita didn't say much. Didn't say anything, in fact. No message of Sita was sent to Dasaratha. And then further, Dasaratha describes his return to Ayodhya. So here, Dasaratha was describing, Sumantra was describing to Dasaratha the gloomy and lifeless state of everything that he has seen as he returned from the forest without Rama in the chariot. Dasaratha feels even more distressed, extremely distressed. He regrets not consulting anyone, including his ministers, before letting Rama go, because he was born by the word of Kaikeyi. He said that if it is in his power, he would immediately order Rama to come back, but he has no power now. because of the word that he has given to Kaikeyi. He pleads pitifully with Sumantra to take him where Rama is. He wants to go to where Rama is. Even here it is mentioned in this chapter, after taking leave of Rama, even the horses were unwilling to return without Rama. He spent few days with Guha, hoping Rama will come back, but he did not. So Sumantara decided to drove the chariot to Ayodhya. But O king of Ayodhya, without Rama is the body. No, without Ayodhya without Rama, he gives a description here. Ayodhya without Rama is a body without soul. That means the body is lifeless. So what is the distinction between the body who has death and a body who is alive? Everything is the same, but the consciousness has left. The Atma has gone. When the Atma has gone, you see the living body and the dead body will look same. Everything is there. The eyes, nose, all the angas of the bodies are there. But what is not there? The Atma is no longer there. So he is describing here that the Ayodhya without Rama is a body without soul. As I drove through Ayodhya, no one greeted me or smiled at me. When they saw empty chariot, people began to cover their faces and their eyes and they start to cry. Dasaratha again wailed, alas, I've committed the greatest blunder in my life. I acted impulsively to please my wife, whereas I should have taken the counsel of my preceptors and ministers. When he wanted to coronate Rama, he got the feedback from his preceptors and ministers. But when he wanted to banish Rama based on the boon of the Kaikeyi, even by the Kaikeyi, he did not. He said, maybe it is the will of the gods. He's now putting on the destiny. O Rama, O Lakshmana, O Sita, you do not know that I am dying of intense anguish as a destitute and a orphan. O Sumantara, will you not take me to where my beloved Rama is? Again, king fainted. Because of too much attachment, too much feeling, too much emotion, mentally and physically, mentally, emotionally, he was not able to take it because of the grief. Same also for Kausalya, but different for Sumitra. Remember again chapters 44, how to console, how Sumitra consoled Kausalya. Sumitra was emotionally intelligent, whereas Dasaratha and also Kausalya was not emotionally intelligent, not able to cope with this stress. Okay, and the last chapter for today's session, Sumitra tries to console Kausalya. Kausalya also wanted to go to the forest. And Sumitra tried to assure Kausalya that Rama and Sita are fine. Rama and Sita are fine. Sumitra explains in great detail how Sita is able to adjust to the forest living. They don't have any problem. He has to console them. Sumitra tried to console Kausalya that she should not worry about them because they are likely to create history. So what Kausalya? Kausalya fell down, terror-stricken, depressed, looking at Sumitra. Kausalya said again, just like what Dasaratha said, Sumitra, kindly take me immediately to where Rama and Lakshmana are. I cannot leave here without them, even for a moment. And Sumitra addressed the queen. Now, O queen, please give up sorrow, your delusion. Sometimes we are grief, sorrow, all due to our delusion. Moha, delusion and confusion caused by unhappiness, caused by too much attachment and caused by unhappiness. Rama has given up mental anguish and he will surely live in the forest with least sorrow. Even Lakshmana, devoted as he is to Rama and to his service, is earning great religious merit. Sita's heart is wholly absorbed in Rama. She appears to be just the same celestial person as she was here. Oh no, they do not deserve our grief. Nor do they, nor even the king deserve to be grieved for. Whatever happening is now will be remembered by humanity for all times to come. This is an assurance that Sumantra is now giving. Sumantra is now consoling Kausalya. Just like earlier Sumitra. And Sumantra also consoled Dasaratha. Dasaratha, later on you will see, he will still be in distress. As you are going to see in next session, he will still be distressed, Dasaratha. So now we have, I think I have exceeded about close to 10 minutes. We have covered our session 8. Session 8 have been completed. You can think about some of the lessons here. Every sessions we have completed, try to think of lessons that you can apply in your life. Over here, a lot of lessons. Lessons on we should not grieve. We should not be too attached. If you want to console someone, how to console people. Just like chapter 44, how Sumitra consoled, Kausalya. We need to be emotionally intelligent. Okay, we need to stay away from negativity, negative people and negativity. Because we need to always have a positive self-talk. Kausalya had a lot of negative self-talk within her. That was the reason why she was depressed. She was in a state of depression. So look for the lessons and how you can apply it in yourself, in your life. Ramayana, especially here, Ayodhya Kanda is full of drama, full of emotion. Actually, the emotion of Ayodhya Kanda is going to continue in session 9. Session 9, we are going to look into chapters 61 to chapters 80. And then chapter 10, session 10 will be chapters 81 to chapter 100. And then session 11 will be chapter 101 to chapter 119. Session 11, we are going to complete Ayodhya Kanda. We have Ayodhya Kanda another 9, 10, 11. Another 3 sessions to complete Ayodhya Kanda. And you learn Ayodhya Kanda is a chapter that is full of drama, full of emotion. Before we go into Aranya Kanda. Session 12, you will be moving into Aranya Kanda. But every session that we learn the lessons that we learn. What are the lessons that we can gain from this session and how we are going to apply in our daily life. Everything in Ramayana is applicable even today, in this yuga, in this time. People like Kausalya, people like Dasaratha are still there. People like Kaikeyi is also there. People like Manthara is also there. People like that, we have to learn from something that is positive from each character. Okay, that completes our session 8. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Rama Rama Varanane. Now, what I'm going to do, if I have a bit of time, I will go through some of the questions in the chat session. If I'm unable to go through all the questions, maybe Mr. Shiv Prakash will email me the questions from the chat, and then I can answer the question in the next session. In case if there is no time available now, or even the session, because Ayodhya Kanda we are covering 20 sargas in one session. That is quite long. If you are not able to do it next session, I think I will try to do it just like what I have done for session 5. Questions from session 5 and session 6. I can type and I can post the answer in the WhatsApp group. But in case if some of you wants more elaboration, I can provide you more elaborations on that. Okay, I think there are questions here, but I think due to the time, I will request Mr. Shiv Prakash to email me the questions, and then I will answer your questions from there. All right. Anybody have any more questions? You can write in a chat session. If there is no questions, then we have completed session 8 of Srimad Valmiki, session 8 of Ayutthaya Kanda, which is Ayutthaya Kanda we are doing currently of Srimad Valmiki Ramayanam. And we'll meet again in next session, next week for session 9. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you. Thank you.